Hi guys. I've had a lot of questions on shrimp tanks since I started and since I got into the hobby. So today I just wanted to go over a general overview of what it takes to start a Neocaridina tank, what I use. I'll go through each of my tanks and I'll show you it's generally the same thing depending what type of shrimp I have, but I'll go through everything with you. There's a lot of different opinions out there. You can do everything a million different ways, and it can be a little bit overwhelming and expensive too. So no serums, no powders, nothing like that you have to add to the water. I'll tell you everything that I use and I'll go through everything with you now. Alright, so as far as water parameters, you need basically your nitrites, and ammonia needs to be 0, little to none. These shrimp are really sensitive to those. That's why I recommend at least a 20-gallon tank. You have a little bit more time to correct those levels before they become harmful to the shrimp. So the kit that I use is this one for the freshwater. I recommend this over the strips. I think it's more accurate. All your normals and indicators are on the back here, and like I said, I think the strips are not very accurate, so I would recommend using this one. Like I said, the nitrites and the ammonia, you really want 0 to nothing, okay? And then the nitrates, which is the byproduct of these two, you want as low as possible as well. It starts getting harmful here in the red area. And then as far as the pH for these shrimp, they really like the low pH, as low as 6.4 to 6.5, as high as mid 7.23. They like that acidotic level in the tank, okay? As far as priming your tank, there's tons of prime products, but you basically need a water conditioner. This removes the chlorines and chloramines from the tank. You do this initially with startup when adding the fresh tap water, and then with every subsequent water change, which I recommend weekly and as needed when you do that water test. If your nitrites and ammonia is starting to climb, do a water change, prime it, conditioner, and that'll remove those chlorines and chloramines that are harmful to the shrimp. Alright, next is a substrate that I use in every single one of my shrimp tanks is the aquarium. I use black because the shrimp pop really nicely on it because I have all these bright colored shrimp, but it buffers the pH, it makes it acidotic like we talked about. You need the acidotic pH, and it also buffers just the general water as well. And then it's great for plants. I always recommend a planted aquarium for these shrimp. Creates lots of biofilm, and so the substrate helps that as well. Create that nice biofilm that the shrimp actually feed off of, which is what they primarily eat. So again, great for plants. And if you have a planted aquarium too, another perk of this is you don't have to do the CO2 additives like a lot of other, if you do sand and gravel and things like that, you don't have to add the CO2 stuff to the planted aquariums like you would the others, which I do find myself using in my actual fish aquariums where I don't have this and I have gravel. I have to add CO2 additives for my planted aquariums, and with this, that's not necessary. Alright, so next is the filter and then the actual air pump that I use. I use this aquarium Quiet Flow, works up to 60 gallons. The perk of this one is it actually has 2 air hose inlets. So I have multiple shrimp tanks with multiple filters. I would have 20 of these laying around, but with this it's kind of a 2-for-1 special. So this air hose actually connects to your sponge filters. Your sponge filter is the most important. You don't want the regular hanging over the back filter. It can suck up your shrimp. And then another perk of these sponge filters I'll show you here in a second. They create that nice biofilm again that the shrimp can actually eat off of, and they're safe for the shrimp to walk on. It won't suck them up. Alright, so this is actually on my Caridina shrimp tank, but this is the sponge filter that I use in almost every single shrimp tank. It took to that aquarium Quiet Flow air pump that I just showed you, and then this is the heater that I use for most of my tanks, the Cobalt Neotherm, really easy to regulate, and you can actually see really clearly what it's set at. I find the happy place with these Neocaridina shrimp is 72 to 74. The higher temperatures, the faster they'll reproduce, but I find that they're more susceptible to stuff, and they actually have shorter lifespans as well. So 72 to 74 for these shrimp. So next is the plant light that I use. I have 7 or 8 of them, I think. I use the Fluval plant light. It's connected to my phone via Bluetooth, and I can moderate all of the tanks via my phone. You can do sun up to sunrise, 4 different times of the day. It's really cool. I won't go too much into Fluval because I don't want to say it's complicated, but you can do a lot of different stuff with it. Play with the lighting depending on what color shrimp you have and stuff like that. So I really like it, and like I said, I can just take my phone. I've got all of them connected to Bluetooth, and they're labeled for each tank that I have, and just sit there and turn it on and off, and it can just take care of itself. It turns on at certain times of the day, turns off at certain times of the day to just get those 8 hours for my plants to have the light. So I really love them. I'll show you the box that I have here. Frugal box. It's just showing you there like all the different customization and the color spectrum that you can change it to. Really neat, really, really neat. I'd really recommend this if you have a planted tank, and they come in all different lengths and sizes too. And even if you don't have a mobile device and a Bluetooth capability that you want to connect it to, like it shows there, even with the power buttons, you can change the light settings. All right, last but not least is just some additives that I put in. You'll see all of my shrimp tanks. One is the cholla wood, all different shapes and sizes. Now when you first get these, you'll need to just boil them for, I think 2 to 3 times, just for 10 minutes a piece. And those, especially these small ones, I didn't even boil. You just put them in the tank and they'll sink. But I do like to pre-soak them because they come with a lot of tannins. Tannins are good for the tank to an extent. They can make your water brown, which isn't harmful to the fish, but it looks kind of crappy. So I did boil all of these, and that way you just put them in the tank. They're already sanitary and they just sink right to the bottom. So that, again, with the biofilm, they grow lots of nice biofilm. It's nice of small hiding, lots of nice small hiding spaces for the shrimp to hide in. And they look really nice in the tank. The next additive that's in all of my shrimp tanks, and I would recommend in all shrimp tanks as well, is almond leaves. So in addition to the biofilm I keep talking about, they actually eat these right down to the exoskeleton, so it's really cool. I'll show you here in a second what one looks like after it's been chewed on for a little while. But these are really, really great. Lots of health benefits for the shrimp. So put one of these almond leaves in your tank as well. So the last thing I'll talk about is acclimating the shrimp. Now I'm going to do a separate video on acclimating the shrimp when I get a shrimp shipment in. I use these AccuDrips. I have multiple of them in case I get different kinds of shrimp from different places or whatever I want to acclimate at the same time. Acclimating shrimp is a little different than fish. You can't just put the bag in the water and let it acclimate. I really recommend doing this. Like I said earlier, they're really sensitive to changes in the water, pH, and all the different parameters we talked about, nitrites and ammonia. So this acclimates them to your water while they're in their water. So it's a drip. I'll go over it in another video, but it's basically a drip per second. And then I do that for about 3 or 4 hours, and I've had great success in acclimating my shrimp. Okay, in this next segment, I'm just going to show you my shrimp tanks. I'm going to show you my Neocaridinas and my Caridinas. You'll see that they're set up basically the same way. The only difference is you'll see is a little, the different pieces of wood I wanted to talk about as well as Malaysian driftwood. It's different than your stereotypical driftwood. You can, after soaking it again, like I talked about, sanitizing the wood, I boil everything to make sure it's clear of anything that's going to hurt my shrimp, but the Malaysian driftwood actually sinks way faster than your typical driftwood. It's been a hassle over this period in the hobby of like sinking driftwood. It's been so frustrating, but I found out about this Malaysian driftwood and it's awesome. After sanitizing it for just, I would boil the water for maybe 10 minutes, it sank immediately. And as you'll see, these are pretty big pieces of wood and the shrimp love them. So I'll go through my shrimp tanks now. Alright, so I'll just take you through my tanks. This is my crystal black tank. This is actually a Caridina tank, so these first two are Caridinas. There's the almond leaves I talked about. Something I didn't talk about is moss balls. These are awesome. They grow that biofilm really nicely. They look nice, and the shrimp love them. They're always on there. The Malaysian driftwood I talked about. This is that aquasolume I talked about. You're going to see these containers in my tanks because I propagate a lot of stuff from my other fish tanks and shrimp tanks, and I like to grow it in this substrate. So there's the other aquasolume. These are my crystal reds. Alright, so these are my red cherry shrimp. They're doing awesome. More stuff I talked about in the videos, the cholla wood, the almond leaves. This tank's about, I've got some zebra bubultis in there too, because those won't actually breed with the red cherries, so you'll see a few of those in there. They're very small compared to the red cherries. But those are the almond leaves I talked about, nice and chewed on. They really, really like those. You're gonna see some dwarf grass, more moss balls. I made like a moss net on this side that's still growing. This is hornwort that you see on the top all the way across. Doesn't necessarily have to be planted. I love it for coverage in the tank, and it's nice and healthy. I have some duckweed, and then the tendrils you see hanging down are actually the roots from some frog bit up there. Another thing I love, they look like little lily pads. And then some water wisteria, some camamba. Then the last tank that I'll show you is the Blue Dreams. Same stuff, got some guppy grass. The stuff in the front is guppy grass, some more hornwort on the back, more stuff that I've been propagating from different tanks, but those are some Amazon swords, some grass in the back. I think I've got some dwarf tears behind that hornwort. There's a few Blue Dreams. They all seem to be hiding. So the last thing I'll talk about is food. I've tried a bunch of different stuff, the things I really like. There's this Bacter AE that has like a biofilm and like microflora. So just once to twice a week, I'll just put a little toothpick in here and dabble it around. And then there's some of these vegetable mini sticks that I'll use once or twice a week as well. They're like little pellets that will sink. I'll put them in these little clear dishes that I have in each and every one of my tanks. And then they usually just flock to it. Wait about 2 to 3 hours. Any uneaten food, I'll just pick the dish up out of the water and take out. Leaving the extra food in there can increase the nitrites and the ammonia, which I don't want. That'll just lead to more water changes and issues with your shrimp. So anything that they don't eat, just take right out. So that's the basics of a Neocaridina tank. I walked you through everything that I use, really straightforward, not very complicated. Like I said earlier, there's a million ways to do this hobby. That's the beauty of it. No way is wrong unless it hurts your shrimp, right? If you want me to do any other videos on anything specific or you have questions, just leave them in the comments. I have many fish tanks. I have flower horns, I have gar, peacock bass, parrotfish. I'm in the process of redoing my flower horn. I have a male coming, I have a female now. I have a 300-gallon coming that's completely customized. I'll keep you guys updated on that. It's going to be pretty cool because the predator tank is 100-gallon right now, so we're upgrading to 300. And then the flower horn's getting a boyfriend and a makeover. So I'll keep you guys posted. And like I said, if there's anything else you guys want me to answer, just let me know in the comments and I'll respond. Have a good one.